If you've ever tried to help an aging parent navigate senior care, you might have thought this. Why is this so complicated? You talk to the hospital, then a rehab center, then a home care agency, then someone mentions assisted living, then someone else talks about selling the house, and suddenly you feel like you've stepped into a system you've never had to understand before. Here's the truth. Most families only see senior care from the outside, but behind the scenes, there are multiple systems, professionals, and incentives all interacting at the same time. Today, we're going to talk about what families don't see about how senior care actually works and why understanding the structure can make the entire process feel far less overwhelming. Hi, I'm Corpus, a senior transition specialist and seniors real estate expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I work with families navigating senior living decisions, housing transitions, and care planning across Contra Costa, Alameda, Santa Clara, San Mateo, and San Francisco counties. And I also work alongside many of the professionals who make up the senior care ecosystem, which means I get to see both sides. I see what families experience, and I also see what's happening behind the scenes among providers. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we bring clarity to decisions that are too often made under pressure. Let's dive in. One of the biggest surprises for families is realizing that senior care isn't one coordinated system. It's actually several separate systems operating side by side. Healthcare, housing, home care, rehabilitation, legal planning, financial planning. Each of these areas has its own rules, timelines, and professionals. But when a parent begins to decline, all of those systems suddenly intersect around one person. And families often find themselves acting as the connector between them. Hospitals are designed to solve one problem: stabilizing a medical event, a fall, a stroke, an infection, a heart issue. Once the immediate medical problem is addressed, the hospital's focus shifts toward discharge. And that's where many families feel surprised, because hospitals aren't designed to plan long-term care. They stabilize the situation, then they move the patient to the next level of care. That next step might be rehabilitation, home with support, skilled nursing, or assisted living evaluation. But the hospital's role is primarily focused on medical stabilization, not long-term lifestyle planning. So if a parent goes to rehab after a hospital stay, families often assume rehab will solve the problem. But rehab has a specific focus: improving strength and function within a limited window of time. Insurance often determines how long someone can remain in rehabilitation. That means the question becomes, what progress can be made in this time frame? Not necessarily what long-term living environment will be safest. That larger decision often falls back to the families. Now, home care agencies play a critical role. They provide caregivers who help with bathing, dressing, meal preparation, medication reminders, and companionship. But home care agencies typically operate on care hours, not long-term planning. They help support daily life. They don't necessarily coordinate housing transitions, financial planning, legal decision-making, and property considerations. So again, another piece of the system is helping, but someone still needs to coordinate the full picture. Senior living communities address another dimension: housing combined with care support, independent living, assisted living, memory care. These environments are designed to provide safety, socialization, and daily support. But families often don't explore these options until a crisis pushes the conversation forward, which makes the decision feel rushed. When these options are explored earlier, families often feel more confident in their choices. Let's talk about where housing and real estate enter the picture. This is another part of the process many families don't initially expect. Housing decisions often become central to the transition. The family home may need to be evaluated. Questions may arise like, is the home still safe? Can it be modified for mobility issues? Would downsizing make sense? Or is selling the home necessary to fund care? Real estate suddenly becomes connected to the care decisions. And when those conversations happen under time pressure, they can feel overwhelming. So, why do families feel like they're coordinating everything? Well, when you step back and look at the entire ecosystem, something becomes clear. Hospitals stabilize, rehab improves strength, home care supports daily living, senior living communities provide structured housing, legal advisors handle planning, financial advisors handle funding. Each role is important, but no single role automatically coordinates everything, which is why families often feel like they're piecing the puzzle together themselves. The families who experience the most stability during a transition usually have one thing in common: coordination. When professionals communicate clearly, when housing options are discussed early, when financial planning is transparent, when siblings are aligned, the entire process becomes calmer. Decisions become clearer, and the transition feels less like a crisis and more like a plan. Senior care isn't confusing because people don't care. It's confusing because the system evolved in separate parts: healthcare, housing, support services, legal planning, financial planning, all developed independently. Understanding that structure helps families realize something important. You're not doing something wrong if it feels complicated. You're simply navigating a system that was never designed to be perfectly unified. But with the right guidance and coordination, the process becomes much easier to navigate. So today we talked about what families often don't see about how senior care actually works. Because senior care isn't one system, it's several systems intersecting. Hospitals stabilize, rehab strengthens, home care supports daily living, senior living communities provide structured environments, legal and financial advisors support planning, and families often become the bridge connecting them all. When those pieces start aligning earlier, transitions become far less stressful. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're navigating a senior transition right now and trying to figure out the next step, here are some resources designed to help. Resources for families if you're navigating senior living decisions, downsizing, or trying to determine the next step for the aging parent. Visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/families. This page provides guidance and resources specifically designed for families navigating senior transitions. And if you're a senior care professional who wants stronger positioning, cleaner referral ecosystems, and more scalable systems for serving families in today's evolving senior care landscape, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/professionals. And if this episode brought you clarity, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Reviews help more families and professionals find the show before stress turns into crisis. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.